This episode of Playing on a Budget is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the #1 source of games and gaming accessories, and by GatheringMagic.com, the #1 source of Magic the Gathering news and articles. Hi there, this is Kevin with GatheringMagic.com, here with another episode of Playing on a Budget. This week we'll be piloting one of my favorite rogue decks that is now a budget deck due to the dropping of Hellriders down to from $12 to about $5 a piece due to the Sorin versus T-Balt deck, as well as people dumping the cards ready for rotation. So anyway, if you haven't seen my YouTube channel, you can go check out a bunch of these games. I call it Hell's Lookout because it is a combination between Tandem Lookout and Hellrider. Anyway, so let's just go down the list. We'll go down the prices of each card as well to show you that this is a budget deck. Now, these prices are brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the #1 source for Magic the Gathering singles. Go check them out, especially if you are a fan of this series or a fan of Gathering Magic. Please go support Cool Stuff Inc. because they basically fund these type of shows, and without them these would not be possible. So please go support them. Anywho, let's go on to the list. I am running the full batch of 4 and 4. These run around $8 a piece of Sulfur Falls and Steam Vents. This allows me to not have mana problems and get the lands that I need, or the mana that I need to cast the spells. I'm also running a one of Desolate Lighthouse. We have enough of the fixers and regular lands in here that I don't think Desolate Lighthouse will hurt our mana too much. I think it's better than running an island, but I don't want more than one. I just want to see one Desolate Lighthouse if I see it. Let's go to our 1-drops. And this is also a bulk rare, so don't worry about this costing much. You can easily trade for it. You can find it in bulk bins everywhere. And yep, won't cost you anything. We'll go over to the 1-drops now. We have the commons and uncommons with Reckless Waif and Judge's Familiar. You can also use Rakdos Cackler here. I just think the Reckless Waif is a little bit more powerful in this format, as it becomes a 3/2 a lot, and that 1 damage is, I guess you would say, it's the difference between like a Wild Nacatl and a 2/2. So what would be just a regular old 2/2? Just like a Savannah Lion versus kind of a Wild Nacatl first turn. And Reckless Waif, against these control matchups and even like junk matchups, it flips a lot. And I really like having that 3/2 on board. You can also block, which you never know when a 3/2 needs to block, like a Flinthoof Boar or something. So I do prefer the Reckless Waif just a little bit over the Cackler. I don't know. I'm still testing around with which one I like. I'm also using a card that has seen play in Block Constructed, but still hasn't seen much play in Standard. And I think now is the time, because this deck just completely wrecks Junk Reanimator, as it makes their Unbarrow Rights be a 5th turn, not a 4th turn when you have it out, because you can just sack your Judge's Familiar and counter their Unbarrow Rights, or say even like a Mulch or something to set them back, and then they are back a full turn, and that a lot of the times is the difference between winning and losing that Junk Reanimator matchup. So again, these uncommons and these 6 uncommons won't cost you much. They are very easy to find in bulk uncommon bins. I don't think either one of them is worth more than just bulk uncommon. We'll go over to the Stromkirk Noble now. This guy has also dropped down in price now. Let's bring up my cheat sheet here to see how much I've cheated them. They are 3.5 right now, so it's going to cost you $14 for the set of Stromkirk Nobles. Probably your best 1-drop. Again, you can go Rakdos Cackler if you want to even go even more on a budget, but I really like the Stromkirk Noble, and we'll get into why a little bit later. Anyway, so the Sulfur Falls and the Steam Vents will be the majority of your moolah here, which will be $64 to grab the playsets of those. And of course, those can even be cut down with the Golgari Guild Gates and just basic lands. And I think you'll be okay with 2 colors. If you really need to skimp on the budget, you can easily cut $64 out of it here. All right, so we'll go on to the 2-drops. I'm running 3 Lightning Maulers and 2 Ash Zealots. These can easily be up the count of Ash Zealots. These Ash Zealots were my last cut. We were just barely over $100, so I had to cut 2 Ash Zealots, and I put in like another Lightning Mauler and another Reckless Waif to make this under 100. It's at exactly $100 right now, not counting the uncommons and uncommons. So you can yell at me if you say that commons and uncommons actually cost money, because they do, but usually most of these in this deck you can find for pretty cheap, if nothing at all. So we got the 2 of Ash Zealots, and as you can see from my list of current prices of Ash Zealots, they're going for $3 a piece. So that is $6 for the Ash Zealots. And then we got Lightning Maulers here, which if you don't have Lightning Maulers yet from all of my playing on a budget decks, you better, because they are amazing. The Lightning Mauler is great with either late Stromkirk Nobles or even like Reckless Waifs to get in there for an extra damage later, or what makes the Lightning Mauler really shine in this deck is a second turn Lightning Mauler into a third turn Tandem Lookout, draw 2 cards. And the big difference between this and a traditional red deck wins deck is the card advantage and the additional control. So this plays a lot like red deck wins, not quite as fast, but the blue really, I think, makes it good against a lot of matchups that red deck wins isn't good against, like the mid-range matchups, because you can have access to counter spells or your choice of control. So Tandem Lookout is very good with Lightning Mauler. But now let's get to the boss of the deck, which is Tandem Lookout's favorite target, which is Senior Hellrider. And Hellrider, like I said, is only going for, I believe, only $4 a piece right now. Yep, they got them on sale at coolstuffinc.com for $4. So this place will only cost you $16. That used to be what a singleton Hellrider cost. But as I've said before, the Sorin versus T-Balt deck has really driven these prices down, especially since Sorin is seeing a lot of play in the more junk mid-range decks and the Esper decks and also the black, white, red decks that have come out. Sorin is seeing a ton of play in both casual and competitive standard right now. And so with the Sorin versus T-Balt dual deck being $20, you can get a Sorin and an Hellrider, so of course it's naturally brought down the Hellrider. Plus there's a lot of modern and legacy playables in the Sorin versus T-Balt deck. If you haven't picked up a Sorin versus T-Balt, I highly recommend to go grab one of those guys. Anyway, there is the Hellrider, and just actually, I'm gonna promote my little page here because we are giving out another Sorin versus T-Balt for our Rogue Deck of the Month competition, so you can go ahead and check my channel out. Anyway, there's my shameful self-promotion. We'll go back to the playing on the budget. We've talked about the Hellriders and what make them so great. When you pair them with the Tandem Lookout, you're drawing a ton of cards because it's not combat damage. It's whenever this creature deals any damage to an opponent, draw a card. So best case scenario is first turn like Stromkirk Noble, into second turn Ash Zealot, into third turn Tandem Lookout, into fourth turn Hellrider. You're drawing 4 off the triggers and you draw another one off the Hellrider. You fill your hand back up and then burn them down. So yep, very good combination with these two. Then we go over to our control package here. We have, this is direct damage and control. I'm running 4 Pillar Flames, 4 Searing Spears, and 2 Turn and Burns. These cards are great against the RG aggro and mono red decks and any other sort of creature based weenie deck. We also have Izzet Charms. It is another shock plus counterspell plus loot. So very good card. And then I'll go over to my tubes and why I put them in here. I love Spectral Flight on either a Tandem Lookout or a Stromkirk Noble. What really makes it great is you drop a Stromkirk Noble first turn and second turn Spectral Flight. So you're on the play. You drop this first turn and second turn to Spectral Flight. When this dude swings and get his first counter, he'll be a 4/4 and he will be out of that pivotal Searing Spear range. So when he swings again, he's out of Mizzium Mortar range. So very good combination between the Stromkirk Noble and the Spectral Flight. Another card you can use in this deck is Invisible Stalker. I'll pull these up, all the cards that I have played before, but do not have in this deck right now. So we have the Invisible Stalker. Let's go to Standard here. I'm on Dragon's Maze. All right, so Standard. Invisible Stalker is really good, but you'd probably want like a Rune Chanter's Pike or a more Spectral Flies or something to really make Invisible Stalker worth it. He does pair well with Tandem Lookout, and it is that pivotal second turn. So second turn you drop a Invisible Stalker, third turn pair with the Tandem Lookout, and you're getting a Invisible Stalker with a Curiosity on basically like enchanted to it. So there are a few other cards I've played in this deck. In my main version, I am using the Snapcaster, but Snapcaster is anything but budget. I really like Snapcaster, even with Ash Zealot, because you have tons of these instances and sorceries. So another card that could be good in this deck is Augur of Bolas as well, as I do believe that there probably is enough of instances and sorceries to make this Augur of Bolas worth it, and he is a 2-drop. Another card that I am really considering is Fire Fist Striker out of good old Gatecrash. I think it's called Firefist Striker. Yeah, Firefist Striker, as again, it pairs quite well with the Tandem Lookout, and then you can make a creature not block. But I haven't included this. Maybe I should include a 1-of or 2-of just to see how it works. We probably do need some more 2-drops. I might go down like a Reckless Waif here and throw in a Firefist Striker, but I'm going to keep it how it is. I love having a 1-drop, and I love running this many 1-drops. And again, Judge's Familiar is just great in this format. It's very good against Junk Reanimator. Let's move on to our sideboard here. The cards that I have chosen to play, I guess you could play one more time. You could play a Burning Tree Emissary in this deck as well, as it does have great targets with Searing Spear or Turn and Burn, or just Burning Tree Emissary into a Lightning Mauler, but I really don't think the Burning Tree Emissary quite makes the cut. Let's go on now to the sideboard. The sideboard I have, let's start the Dungeon Geist. The Dungeon Geists are great against like Thragtusk or locking down an opponent's creature. Say they're really good as Boros Reckoner as well. You tap it down and then you can still swing in there. I really like the Dungeon Geist against the mid-range and even the slower aggro decks. Not the balls out aggro decks, but the slower aggro decks. Dungeon Geist is very good. Does die to Searing Spear, but you're okay. Another card, I guess, if you're worried about that, is Mizzium Skin. I really think that Mizzium Skin could find a place in this deck, as it acts as kind of like a counterspell against the Pillars and the anything else. It's really cool with Mizzium Skin. You overload it, and yeah, you basically can say they're blocking with like a 3/3, a Centaur Healer with their blocking your Hellrider, you Mizzium Skin, and you keep everything alive. And then they're hexproof. It's really good for keeping the Tandem Lookout. So I might actually want to put a Mizzium Skin or two. Probably for maybe for Syncopate or Volcanic Strength or something. I don't know where it would fit, but Mizzium Skin is definitely an option. Frostburn Weirds are great versus the aggro matchups. So they can block they can eat it. A Searing Spear can't kill them. It takes 2 pillars to kill them. They can block the Flint of Boars, and then on the swing back they can do up to 4 damage. And they're that great. In this, they're colorless mana almost, as there's only one land that can't tap for them. So I really like the Frostburn Weird in here against those matchups. Izzet Staticaster is great against Lingering Souls. It's great against Sorin. I'm trying a 1-of Sleep in as another mid-range breaker. So you can sleep their guys. They all tap, don't untap the next turn. So you can get in there for 2 combat phases. I'm running just 2 Syncopates. I think that's enough with the amount of Izzet Charms and Syncopates. You can run like Counterflux if you want, Dissipate. Your mana's pretty good for it. I'd go down in the mountains and go up in the islands if that were the case. You could also run Delver of Secrets in this deck. Let's bring up Delver. Delver might actually work in this deck. You have 3, 5, 13. Yeah, I really don't think Delver's quite would make the cut. You'd want to go up in more instances of sorceries, but there's definitely a lot of room. There's a lot of options for cards that you can play in this deck. Back to the sideboard one more time. I think Volcanic Strength is great on Stromkirk Noble. These usually switch out for each other. Or if I'm going up against a deck that is more mid-rangey like Jund, I'll put both of them in here and get them out of that Searing Spear range. Does that, it still has Putrefy. Does work against the our dudes. So a lot of times you don't want to get 2 for 1 against like Abrupt Decay and Putrefy. But then again, that's probably what Mizzium Skin could come in here for. And I might actually just put in a 1-of Mizzium Skin. I just don't know what I'd take out here for the Mizzium Skins. Oh man, I really want to. I really, really want to try this, as it is a great answer to the Abrupt Decays and the Putrefys. So, but I think I'm not going to do it. It doesn't help us against the Supreme Verdicts, and that is public enemy number 1 against this deck. So let's just wrap up this deck tech here with the Zealous Conscripts. These cards are great versus the Thragtusk matchups. They are great versus any mid-range and even Junk Reanimators. A lot of times they get out that quick on burial rights for whatever. You can grab their dude with Zealous Conscript and swing for the win. I think that pretty much wraps it up. This has been kind of a longer deck tech. I'm rambling, all caffeinated up and ready to go. This is Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching.